Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Planted Unearthed. My name's Sam Peters and I'm one of the founding partners of Planted, the first contemporary design show aimed at reconnecting cities with nature. As part of the Planted Unearthed series, we've been exploring how design, sustainability, food and architecture and nature can combine to create cleaner, greener, healthier urban spaces. We look in depth at how we can reconnect with nature by speaking to some of the most innovative and respected thinkers in this field. Today, we're speaking to one of the co-founders of Naturalmat, a Devon-based mattress and bed manufacturer who this year marked their 20th year producing natural mattresses, beds and bedding made from organic materials. Mark Tremlett, welcome to Planted Unearthed.
Hello, Sam. Nice to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Mark. Thanks for your time today. I mean, why don't we start off perhaps just by telling us a little bit about what Naturalmat is and what you guys do?
Well, as the name suggests, we make mattresses and beds using organic and natural materials. It's something that's been going for just over 20 years. I started it in 1999, and originally, I'll tell you a little bit about the history because that's quite interesting, really. It's sort of quite odd, really, where we've come from and where we are today. But what runs through it is is quite a strong theme, really. Back in the day, when I had a proper job, I worked for a chocolate manufacturer, and I was a chocolate taster for Thorntons, effectively. And wow. I got sort of fed up with that day job, feeling a bit too sick every single day, really, probably. And then, and my dad was a yacht designer and boat builder, based on the River Exe down in Devon. And I'd always been involved in the marine industry. I saw people buying very expensive boats to sleep on a really kind of poor quality, pretty crappy mattress, actually. And I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. Spend £500,000 on the boat and then sleep on a £30 bit of foam. It doesn't add up. So I jacked in the chocolates and then went about trying to design a mattress that would be suitable for the marine environment, and basically came up with using natural fibres because they're inherently breathable, they're self-ventilating, they're much more supportive, they're longer lasting. So on every count, they're far better than the synthetics that are being used. So we started making mattresses, and we sort of invented how we'd make a mattress, and off we went. And I had reasonable contacts in the marine industry, so that got us to go. The thing about natural materials is that they're great insulators. So they'll keep you nice and warm when it's cold outside, and if it's hot outside, they'll keep you nice and cool. So they're ideal for trying to maintain an even temperature. And they do that from taking heat and taking moisture away from your body and wicking it away. Synthetics do completely the opposite. They absorb heat and they absorb moisture. So those are the worst things to use, but that's what everybody was using. Anyway, so that's why we came about using natural fibres. And then about a year down the road, my girlfriend was pregnant. I looked at what babies slept on. I saw that they're also covered in plastic. They're made out of polyurethane foam. It's not what we wanted for our baby. So we looked at the sort of how we'd make a mattress for the nursery industry, and we came up with 3 compositions, and we're the first company to pass all British standards without using any glues, without using any fire retardants, without using any synthetics, no chemicals whatsoever, 100% natural. And then quite quickly, we became a nursery business, unsurprisingly, because other people were sort of thought, oh, that's a good idea, and they didn't want their baby to sleep on a bit of plastic either. So about the next 10 years, we were a mainly nursery mattress business. And then I met this guy called Simon Woodruff, the Yo Sushi man. He lived on a boat in Chelsea, and he told me about his plan to set up this hotel chain where all the rooms were going to be called cabins, all the staff could be called crews. It's very much on nautical lines. And basically, I became his bed consultant. And out of the back of that, we ended up delivering some eco mattresses to a hotel. Quite quickly, hotels are trying to become, this is about 2010, 2011, hotels are trying to become greener, more eco, more sustainable. And there was no one doing that sort of mattress into the hotel industry. So we started, again, looking at other hotels. We quickly picked up traction there. And within about a couple of years, it was again half of our business. And then once you start making big mattresses as opposed to little cot bed mattresses, then you might as well make for Joe Bloggs in the high street as well. So then we looked at sort of, how we could develop a range of mattresses for grown-ups. And then we came up with various compositions. And we also realized that actually a mattress on its own it's hard work just selling the mattress, because you need the whole thing. You need the whole story. So you've got to have the beds and the headboards and all the other sort of gear that goes with it. So since about 2015, we've been steadily developing our range of items for the bedroom. So now we have a complete kind of sleep and sort of natural sleep environment. And so from day one, we've always used entirely natural fibres. And then over the years, where we've been able to replace a natural ingredient with a certified organic ingredient, then we've made that switch. It's not always possible to have everything 100% organic in a mattress, because, you know, we use things like horsehair. There's no such thing as an organic horse. I mean, they're fairly organic anyway, but I mean, they don't have a certificate. So, you know, there's some things that you can't go that extra mile and have everything organic. So everything's natural. And I think one of the key things that is about supply for us is that we know where everything comes from. You know, we could just buy all our materials like the other people in the mattress industry from two big wholesalers, but we don't do that. We like to look out individual suppliers, and by doing that, we know where everything comes from. So we have complete traceability all the way back to the supply. And I think that in today's market, I think that is incredibly important, that more and more people want to know where things come from, and especially something as sensitive, something that you're going to lie on for 8 hours a day, if you're lucky. Then, and it gives people peace of mind that they can see, we're transparent as to what goes in it and then where it comes from. And I think that, you know, gives people a lot of peace of mind.
That's a huge sort of talking point, certainly since perhaps in the last 6 months it's come onto people's radars even more. It was something that people were looking at, supply chains and where products were sourced and how they were produced. But I mean, is that something that you've seen really change in the last 6 months, even just since the whole kind of lockdown scenario? I mean, how people are actually looking at where stuff comes from?
Yes, I mean, the whole lockdown thing has been quite interesting, and I think, you know, attitudes are changing, moods are changing. I think the whole way that people live their lives, people are just being much more considerate about the things they use, the things they sleep on, what they do, and how they behave. And I think, you know, that I think the interiors sort of business is having quite a big impact on that. And we've definitely seen, you know, we're luckily, I mean, touch some wood somewhere, you know, we are still quite busy. And I think, you know, that clearly it is having an impact on our particular sector, because, you know, we're busy. So I think people are staying at home. Gardens in their homes, it does seem to be true, because we're extremely busy, and we're definitely seeing people saying, okay, well, now I want to change my bed. You know, I don't know where it came from. You know, I want to invest more in my, you know, in my home, and in not only my comfort, but also in a perceived well-being as well. I think that's terribly important.
I mean, it's something certainly my wife Debs and I have spoken about a lot. With, you know, you spend more time in your home, you look at things that perhaps if you were whizzing in and out every day, traveling all the time, you wouldn't be looking at so much, and you want to make the space that you live in feel and look amazing. And also, as you identify really early on, if you have children, this idea that plastic products are less and less attractive is certainly gaining a huge amount of, and rightly so, interest and traction. But I mean, in terms of your sort of original story, Mark, I mean, the marine environment, the damage that plastic has very clearly and evidently been seen to be doing and continue to do to the marine environment. How much was that part of your thinking when it came to kind of moving away from plastic products and actually trying to enable people to source natural fibres?
We always just knew that synthetics weren't very good, you know. So it just comes down to a very basic thing, that synthetics will absorb heat and absorb moisture, which are the two things you'll always try and avoid in any kind of sleeping environment. So we've never liked anything that has any kind of plastics or anything synthetic, because it doesn't do the job that you really want it to do, you know, when you're lying down on a mattress. And the other side of the flip side of what we have seen, you know, where we have changed is, I suppose, in terms of how we address the whole kind of packaging, the impact of the packaging. And that is sort of, so that very much from day one, when, we didn't have any alternatives but put it in a plastic bag and send it up the door. You know, in 2000, when you're making a mattress, that was the only way you could do it. Now, and over the years, we have tried to avoid that as much as we possibly can. And now today we're in a situation where, we think we're pretty good at that. In the early days, we sort of pioneered the use of potato starch packaging.
Okay.
So from about 2006, I think, all our nursery range were packed in potato starch. So it was completely biodegradable. We said, when you finished it, you can chuck it on your rose, chuck it on your roses, it will biodegrade in the garden. And we had recycled cardboard. So, so we had sort of zero plastic in our nursery packaging from about 2005, 2006. For the grown-up beds, it's been harder. But now that you can use there's a biodegradable plastic where we have to. But the mattresses now, we have our own transport, and that's sort of changed over the years. And so when we deliver now to a customer's house, we can deliver it in. So we have a series of canvas bags now, and so we put the mattress in the canvas bag and zip it up, and we take it to the people's house, and then we plonk it on the bed, and then we can unzip it, and then bingo, there's your mattress without any plastic at all, and then we take it away. So that's that is the kind of, we can't certainly, with overseas things, we can't do that, but but we're working towards trying to have zero plastic. And we've just launched, part of our bedding thing again in the packaging things, where it's a nice development is we've now got our new bed linen that we get from comes from a mill in India. We source direct from the mill in India, which is always very important to us, that we go direct to source. So again, we know exactly where everything comes from. It's got certified all the way through the process, and there's no plastic whatsoever in any of the packaging. So all the sheets are packed in their own cotton bags, which can be used as a laundry bag or a shoe bag, afterwards. And then it's in a cardboard outer packaging. So there's zero plastic whatsoever in our new bedding, and that's great. So now, but now you can do these things, whereas before it was very difficult. So, but so the market is, I think that the demand is always ahead of the market, and now that there is enough demand, and so there are appearing there are solutions to historic problems within it, trying to avoid plastics, and so that is and the marine industry, it's quite it's a difficult industry to get really clean, but they are making inroads. It will take time. Anyway, but
I guess it's a question of where there's a will as well, isn't it? I mean, it just feels like there is a growing demand now. I mean, for sustainable solutions that are not associated with plastic. We had we very much presented Planted. We had our first iteration, our first physical event at London Design Festival a couple of weeks ago, which you guys were very much part of our online offering, which we were hugely grateful to for supporting us at the beginning. But in terms of the physical event that we ran, we were looking at whether it was going to be possible to essentially be a zero waste show. And for transparency's sake, we had a group of journalists come around the stand, and we were explaining, that we were attempting to be a zero waste show. We'd asked all our suppliers to deliver all the products in not in single-use plastic. And as the group of journalists went away at that very point, just afterwards, a load of our signage turned up, wrapped in bubble wrap, wrapped in foam. It was the only piece of waste that came about as part of the show. But as I said, we're being transparent. It happened, and we're sorry, and we'll ensure it won't happen again. But all of our other suppliers managed to deliver product to the show in non-plastic products, and such a smart solution you've just come up with there. You've just told us about a canvas bag. So it can be done, can't it? And although it's at this point in time we're not there is hope for the future if there's enough demand and consumers insist on it, essentially.
Yeah, I think, as you're completely right, where there's a will, there's a way. It might cost you a little bit more in the short term. So inevitably there might be a little bit of a capital expenditure to prime the pump, to get it all going. But in the long run, it's going to be more economical, and you're gonna, massive kind of boon and benefit to the, to the environment. So it really, long term, it's a win-win. So, you've got to fight, people have got to be, more able to fight that bullet. Hopefully, in these times, the movement will go forward. But sometimes it's going to be difficult, especially with COVID, for sure.
Yeah. Is that part of the piece here that, Mark, that we need to change the narrative around consumption and actually just focusing on the point that you just made, that it's about, if you spend a little bit more upfront, it's cheaper in the long term because you're buying a quality product.
Yeah, I think there's never been a marketplace where the adage of spend more, buy better is more prevalent than in bidding. You really do get what you pay for. That's very, very obvious. And actually, within our industry, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when you're buying beds and mattresses in a normal high street kind of location. Because of those steps, actually, it might seem like an expensive item that they're buying, in that bed store, but actually, the net cost of the raw materials that go into it are not that great very often. Just because retailing beds is difficult, you need a lot of space, you need people, and that all comes with a cost, and then you've got to have margin to be able to pay for all that. So it is tricky. So you do need, when you're buying a bed, you do need to spend more to be able to get something that's going to be really good. And obviously, because we use really great raw material ingredients, then it does come with a certain price point. I suppose our advantage is that we decided that we weren't going to sell to any other retailers, and we did that from day one. We've always been a sort of consumer-focused business, apart from the hotel side. And so we had a first store in W11 in 2003. And then I'm here in our store in W6, which we opened in 2017. And so we don't sell to any other retailers. You can't buy a bed from Harrods or John Lewis or Dreams or anything like that. So we make it and we sell it. And by doing that, effectively, you're buying from a factory outlet. So you get a sort of factory outlet price. So because there's no middleman, then you get, hopefully from us, you get a great bed at a great value for money. So, but you've got to spend money on a bed. There's no other item where you spend as much consumer item where you spend more time in it or on it, probably.
And I guess
I haven't found one yet, apart from your shoes, maybe. You know what I mean?
You have sore feet if you spend as much time in your shoes as you do in your bed, I think. But
exactly.
and in terms of actual health and wellness and your general well-being, sleep is so important, isn't it? It's probably the most important thing for repairing your body and restoring your health.
Yeah. It's become so, along with sort of diet and fitness, it's probably become sort of one of the three big kind of wellness topics, and that's really only happened in the last couple of years. And so I think that, and I think there's a lot more focus now on what people sleep on, and people are much more careful about what they sleep on, and I think they're much more stringent about looking at how, or examining, how to get a good night's sleep. And I think that's all that is good for everybody. And I think, the restorative and the recuperative sort of ability of sleep to improve whatever you're doing the next day, is getting more and more well documented. And I think that has to be good. And actually sort of that interesting, sport-wise, so, we have done a couple of programs with famous sports people. One was a very well-known boxer, and his ability to recover from our bed was off the clock compared to what he was sleeping on before. So we have got some really interesting metrics, and I think there's a lot more studies to be done on this. And we were working on a program with Under Armour for the Tokyo Olympics, but obviously that's That's slightly gone by the wayside. It might come back, but anyway. But so sleep is becoming and recognised as being a very important factor in everybody's lives. So long may that continue. So it's good. Yeah,
definitely.
Sleep well. Sleep on a good day.
It's a mantra I like to follow for sure, Mark. And I guess what's interesting as well, just taking that sports comparison or analogy through is, it's just you may not have to perform on an Olympic stage or on a professional rugby pitch or wherever it may be, or in a boxing ring, but everyone's got to get up and perform every day in their own way. And whether it be going to the office or looking after your kids or whatever it may be, you just feel better with a good night's sleep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The only problem that you do have when you're choosing a mattress is how do you choose the right one? That's one of the issues that everybody has. And the only way to really try it properly is try before you buy. So buying online is, I think, tricky because it's very hard. You can't. It's such a subjective thing that you can't actually work that out if you're trying to get something that's right for you. So it is a part of retail where you do, where the bricks and mortar have to continue existing. But we've got this store in W6, and we try. Obviously it's difficult at the moment. So people can go book their own private appointment, so they can come here. They've got places themselves. We've got this area that we call our sleep zone, and so we try and keep it very simple. So we've got 6 types of mattress, and so we've got 6 different little individual sleep pods. So you can crawl into your sleep pod and you can tuck up there, and then if you want, you can be there all afternoon if you really want.
Perfect.
But if you want to come back 6 days a week to try it out, then you're very welcome to do so. But the key thing is that you need to try it, and you need to try. And by having it in a pod, so we designed these pods because we thought that most retail environments are not particularly conducive to make people feel relaxed. Beds are lined up like sardines under bright white lights. The guy staring at you saying, "Is that all right, sir?" And so so it doesn't, it's not. So as soon as you jump on the bed, you think, "Oh, this is a bit embarrassing. I better jump off again." So what we want to do is to get people to jump on the bed and stay on the bed, and only by staying on the bed can they give a kind of objective opinion. And then we've got sort of little kind of nice things like we've got our own kind of soundtrack that where the factory's in this very beautiful kind of part of Devon on the River Exe, and so we had these recordings of sort of the tweeting birds and sort of countryside sounds. So we made a kind of a sort of a sleep melody that we play in our sleep zone, and then we've also got our own aroma that we've developed as well. So a combination of having a sort of your own privacy with some nice kind of sensory smells and sounds. We're trying to get people to relax and stay on the bed to make an opinion about, oh, is that right for me, or is that not right for me? But once you have chosen the right one, then hopefully you'll have all those fantastic benefits of having a great night's sleep.
Well, it sounds amazing, Mark. And
come on down, Sam.
In the nicest possible way, you've made me want to go to sleep, Mark. So it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. Really has, and we think it's a great product, a great business, and a great concept, and we're all for it at Planted. We think it's absolutely fantastic. So please keep up your good work, and we'll stay in touch for sure, because it's something that we really share your vision and want to support as well. So I guess that just leaves it for me to wrap things up, really. Say thank you very much to Mark Tremlett from Naturalmat for joining us today on Planted Unearthed. If you've enjoyed today's series of Planted Unearthed, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, details of which can be found on our website, www.planted-cities.co.uk. On there, you'll find more great content, including our 3-part Planted Unplugged Talks programme, led by myself and Oliver Heath, which we filmed live at King's Cross as part of London Design Festival recently. Look out also for our interview with the brilliant Darren Henderson from Botanical Boys, and my review of Planted's first physical event, delivered in partnership with our friends at Biotecture and Vestra. That just leaves it to me to say thanks again to Mark from Naturalmat. Thanks to you for watching. My name's Sam Peters, and this has been Planted Unearthed.